Good evening, everybody. If you can hear my voice clearly, can you type down what did you eat for dinner? Okay, what did you have for dinner? Put it in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to inform all my followers and all my audience right now that it is live. So for those who just joined us, please type down again. What did you have for dinner? All right, and today it's a super exciting live is a super exciting interview in my opinion because the guest that I am inviting up, right, he himself it's very successful in different aspects, right? Different aspects, not just in terms of speaking, not just in terms of sales closing, and he himself is a very successful investor. So I'm personally very curious of how he able to be good at so many things at one time and at the same time and yeah, I think there's a lot of secrets and wisdom that he's going to share with us tonight. So for those who are here already, if you can hear my voice clearly, please type down what did you have for dinner. So in the meantime, let me just post it to the rest of the channel so that all of you guys can more people can join to learn together as well. All right, hold on, last one. There you go. Okay, so I can see that people are slowly streaming in. Hi, Calvin. Good to see you. All right, some of you already know. Yeah. Okay. Yes, our guest tonight is actually Max, and I will be bringing him on very soon. And I can see John is here. John said you had wonton mee. Oh wow, fantastic! I had noodle in the afternoon as well. All right. So now let me share with you what's so special about this guest, right? Apart from what I introduced just now, he also shared stage with very successful people like Richard Branson, and he has so much wisdom that like I remember once I had conversation with him. Every single time I had conversation with him, I always felt very enlightened. So that's why tonight, all right, I want to invite him out so that a lot of you guys can also learn from him, and feel free to ask questions as well, all right, so that all of us can also learn from each other. All right, hi Kelvin, and without further ado, can everybody type Max in the chat? Okay, hi Max, thanks for coming here.
Okay, I'm not that cool, but and I'm also not so wise to enlighten. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Chloe.
You're being very humble as usual. Oh wow. Oh, Calvin actually knows you. No, he said that through a course many years ago.
Okay.
Wow, fantastic. And I'm
Oh,
pretty sure that both of you have like grown a lot right since then. Now without any delay, right, let me just kick the first ball rolling. Now Max, if you don't mind sharing, right, because a lot of audience probably it's like they don't know much about you, right? So can you tell us, right, how can you be good at so many things at one time, like sales, like closing, speaking, investing? Is there any secret behind that?
okay. So yeah, because obviously Chloe kind of sent me like a rough list of questions to look through, and so how are you good at so many things? To be fair, this question I was initially a bit stunned. Like, so I think maybe to kind of clarify, so like exactly what do you mean by good? Like, do you have like maybe a bit more elaboration, like an example of what you mean by good at so many
Okay.
things?
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. So for those who have attended maybe Max program like before, right? Last time he actually teach different classes, be it e-commerce. Right now he also teaches sales and all this. So I actually attended one of his program, and when I attended your program, I just felt like, wow, you are so good at speaking. Like you can do it so naturally and like so confident, so convincing. And at the same time, like when you're right now when you're doing your own business, right, you're also very good at handling your clients, getting your clients to trust you, right, getting your clients to actually buy from you as well. And then as an investor, right, you also have a very big portfolio. Like how are you able to do so
I
many things good
see.
at it?
Okay, can. Thanks. A bit of a silly question. Okay, I think I'm clear already. So I think maybe just to give a bit of a background, so we can put this in context in terms of like how I guess develop the skills to be good at quite a number of things. So I think what you're referring mainly to is I think over the last 1.5 years, 1.5 years after kind of leaving my full time job as a speaker, marketer, and trainer. So I kind of like started about I think 5 to 6 different side hustles. Side businesses lah. So mainly it's in the areas of like training other speakers how to speak and present, training certain salespeople on certain skill sets, running my own investing course, and also doing some other speaking and consulting work at the side. So that's pretty much, I think, what I've been doing in terms of multiple side businesses. To be fair, I think by God's blessing, most things have been working out quite smoothly. So I think to answer the question, how did I get good at multiple skill sets? Quite frankly, I think for me, it's really developing 2 to 3 core high value skill sets that I think is quite valued in today's society. When I say today, it's because 10, 20 years from now, the demand for these skills may change. I won't know. I won't have a crystal ball, but I would say it includes mainly 3 things. So first one is I actually got pretty decent, I wouldn't say very good, but pretty above average at this skill set called copywriting, which is a skill set of in marketing known as how do you write certain words on the page to persuade people to buy things online using words on the page. So that's called copywriting. So I started doing that as a young kid, as I started my own online business, selling things online when I was in army. So long story short, I picked up that skill set, which helped me a lot to kind of sell stuff online. And I think so happened in the last 10, 15 years. The digital age became a lot more popular. So copywriting was the first skill set. And then number 2 was learning how to actually speak, to sell, or to present, whether it's a one-on-one, one or one-to-many on stage. So I think that communication skill was very, very needed in a society where more and more people go online to actually learn things, and they want to have people they want to feel trusted they are learning from someone that's credible. So I think the ability to speak, to present well, and be able to break down your ideas quite succinctly or very, very elaborately is actually important. And then the last but not least, believe it or not, is actually more so about, I think, investing. So knowing how to use the money that you make from the different high income skill sets like copywriting and then speaking and presenting to then invest it to then grow it. So that's pretty much, I guess, the main skill sets. How I got good at that was actually this author. I think years back I read this book that was very life changing. His name is called Scott Adams. I'm not sure whether you've heard of that, Chloe. Like he writes this book called How I Failed at Everything and Still Succeeded. He's a very well known cartoonist in America. He basically writes a lot of cartoons that talks about office politics and stuff. I think one of the most highly paid cartoonists, and he's wrote a lot of amazing books on like persuasion, on like communication. His name is called Scott Adams, and he wrote this book. In that book that was called How Do You Fail? How Do You Keep Failing Until You Succeed? He brought up this term called a talent stack. So a talent stack basically means that in life or in society, you don't need to become a master at like that one domain. You need to just get good at maybe 2 to 3 skill sets. So for him, he gave the example of himself. He's an average cartoonist. He doesn't draw the best. He's also not the funniest, because cartoons got to be a bit funny, but he's also not the funniest. He's also not the best in understanding business. He's also not the best in writing, but by combining a decent, he likes to say he has a B minus in drawing, a B plus in writing, a A minus in humor, and combining all 3, it becomes very, very unique. So I think to kind of answer that question, when after I realized that actually in life, to kind of stand out, position yourself to be unique in like that position of one to be differentiated, that people cannot compare you to anything else. It's all about building multiple skill sets. So I think for me, the answer is how did I get good at that was really being able to combine multiple skill sets to be able to look unique as like, so I dare say I'm not the most smartest investors. There's so many investors who are smarter than me. I'm not the best marketer. I'm not the most charming presenter. You can see I look like a toot or look like a nerd, right? But by combining these skill sets in terms of humor, marketing, speaking, presenting, investing, I've managed to carve out my own niche that I guess makes me look a bit unique and different to the market in terms of positioning. So blending marketing, selling, presenting, and investing is very hard to copy for the average person. So that was, I guess, what allowed me to kind of get good at so many things. So I didn't really like become a master at everything. Of course, I did put in some time to go a bit deep, but being able to stand out through the talent stack by Scott Adams was very life-changing for me. So I read that when I was like 24, 25 years old. Yeah, hopefully that answers the question. Yeah.
So if we were just to go inside a little bit deeper, when you talk about combine multiple skill set, right? Like do you always actually try to find principles that are relevant to all the skill sets? And at the end of the day, why you're so good at combining all these skill sets is because you are good at finding the key principles, and then you just double down on the principles.
This is a very solid point. So I did a podcast like 1 year back, and by the way, I haven't done any podcast in the last 1 year for personal reasons, because I realized like when I go on podcasts, constantly talking about that $1 million and stuff kind of started to get into my head. So I wanted to not do podcasts for a while. So this is the first podcast I've done in the last 1 year. So decided to say yes because Chloe was really very nice and very sincere. So anyway, I like this topic a lot because in a podcast I did 1 year back, I think it was Mark. I think definitely you know Mark, right? So
Yeah.
he asked me kind of a similar question, and I shared my philosophy that was I think might be very different, but I'll just say it. I think it's very important to go deep into things once you roughly figure out the base fundamentals. But most times when we attend courses, we attend a lot of those talks or seminars, the speaker, the trainer, even maybe someone like myself, may tell you things like, for example, hey, everything you learn, focus, go in deep, focus on this one thing, don't get that, we call it like shiny object syndrome, don't get distracted. But I kind of beg to differ. But first, you got to take things into context. I think at the beginning, when you're learning any skill, whether it's investing, forex, options, business, marketing, whatever, you have to actually expand the horizon to be able to learn many, many different things first. And most things will not work. But it's through those things that you spot this one element, which is what makes learning a lot easier. And this thing is called patterns. So I realized that for human beings to learn things well, you need to be able to spot patterns, or what we call in the investing world, we also call it pattern recognition. Now, the downside is that you can only connect the dots. So it's like connecting dots, right? You can only connect the dots if you've gone through enough dots, speaking metaphorically here.
Yeah.
And the only way to go through enough dots is to be able to, at the start, broaden the horizon and try many different things first, which is why, for me, I think, if let's say pretend today, using the context of your channel or your audience, someone wants to learn investing for the first time. They're brand new, they have no idea what the ETF is, what the stock is, and they just go straight to value investing. They might pick off immediately, but 9 times out of 10, I feel that it's a bit harder because they haven't seen the other parts of the jigsaw puzzle. And once they see everything, then the whole thing will make sense. So a very simple metaphor was, believe it or not, I didn't start off doing investing. I started off many, many years ago, which not many people know this about me. I actually did a lot of trading. So when I first learned about investing as a young 20-plus-year-old kid, I kind of looked down on investing. I was like, hey, this Warren Buffett guy is so lame. Like 20% a year, like that's too little. Can you imagine me saying that, right? But that was me as a young kid. I'm like, because I love playing poker. So trading naturally kind of attracted me because it's a lot more fast paced and you can kind of make fast money. So I did all the time studying like support resistance, technical analysis, studying the charts and the candlesticks. And then that didn't work. I then tried trading forex. I then tried trading commodities. Didn't work. And it was only after I go through that, then when I come back to value investing, okay, actually this makes a lot more sense right now that I've gone through all that. So then the dots started to connect. So I always feel, and it's the same thing like my online businesses as well. I started off doing SEO years back, didn't work, and then tried many different things before I chanced upon the way of marketing that I kind of found myself. So I think most times to learn things, to go back to the question about principles, to find the principles, unfortunately, you have to expose yourself to a wider range first. Then only can you see the dots to connect.
Wow. So is that by finding that dots to connect the principles help you to learn a skill faster?
Yeah, for sure, right? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So in your opinion, right, I think just now you already talked about the three most important skill set, which is firstly copywriting. Second one is how to speak and sell on stage, be it on stage or being one-to-one. And last but not least is converting all those high income skill set into investing so that you can compound your wealth faster, right? Yeah. So in your opinion, right, like do you think any single one of them plays the most important role to become who you are today?
Got it. Okay. I think let me clarify a few things first just on that, because some people watching this may be like, oh, Max, but I don't work as a speaker or trainer. Like, this is totally applicable. I think I just want to emphasize that so it's at least clear for the audience. I think you realize if you put a common thread in it, right? If I were to narrow it down, I think it's one way. It's going to be very vague, but I think this is extremely crucial. It's just the ability to communicate your ideas across, whether it's through text, which is copywriting, and that applies whether you're selling things online or whether you're trying to write a love letter to someone you like. Right? It's the same, right? Convincing or persuasion through text. And then, but people may say, oh, but stage selling, everything is not applicable to you. It's applicable to me as a trainer. But it's the same thing, right? Communicating or presenting your ideas, whether it's in a board meeting, at work, whatever, or the ability to get your ideas across to sell yourself in an interview process or in a promotion meeting, whatever, annual company review. It's the same thing. So to me, it's like ability to know how to communicate through a lot of persuasion, a lot of human psychology. So to kind of go back to the question, is there an underlying that made it work? I think for me, yes. I think for me, the underlying that really made it work in terms of that one thing that I would maybe give a lot more credit to, Um, can I go a bit more nerdy? Is it okay?
Sure. Our audience are very nerdy.
Can I'm going to jump topics, right? It's actually something that most of you guys may not expect, but it's actually a note-taking system. It sounds
A
super lame.
note-taking system. Okay.
Yeah. Let me just go deeper into that. See, like if you're talking, because this conversation seems to be about learning mastery of skill sets, and there's something I was doing since young that I didn't know I was doing until I recently, 1 year back, I read this book. The book is called Build Your Second Brain. It's by this guy called Tiago Forte. So the book talks about how can one person have a more organized way of taking notes. And then when I read the book, I realized, okay, crap, I was actually doing that in a less systematic way. And so what I'm trying to say is that your ability to learn things and apply things, because application is really the main thing that allows you to kind of take what you learn and get results from, right? It's down to your ability to know how to extract the notes from the courses you attend, from the books you read, or from the videos you watch. And so to me, the systemized note-taking system that you have then converts over to your ability. Yeah, that's the book, right? Converts over to your ability to go execute that skill set that you learn. So for me, I share my rough note-taking system. Any book that I read, ever since the Kindle was invented, I had my Amazon Kindle since I think I was in my early 20s. And these days, the iPad is the same. I need to be able to extract all the notes out. So I will always highlight everything that I learn. And so I'm going like very nerdy here. Extract all the notes that I read from, whether it's an investing book, it's a self-help book, it's a money book, it's a relationship book, it's a psychology book, doesn't matter, marketing book, right? I'll extract everything that stands out to me. And then from all the highlights I make, I will go through one more time to highlight the things. So I'm making a summary of my summary, second layer. I think he covers that in the book. And then last but not least, after that, I just store it in an entire Google Doc. So today, if you're asking me, I can share with you privately next time, but not openly like this. I have a Google Doc of like close to 500 different pages of books from like business, investing, marketing, whatever you can name it, mainly self-help, because I'm a self-help junkie. And so looking back, I realized my ability to apply these skill sets because I have it stored somewhere. So if I want to apply the skill set of, I recall I need to drive traffic from website. Years ago, I read Traffic Secrets by Richard Branson. I can't remember. I don't need to go read the book again. I just need to go find my highlights, which is just like maybe 3 pages long of notes, and find those highlights and then extract that and go apply that and try that. So I feel that every person's ability to execute what you learn and what you read to become decently good at skills a lot faster is down to your note-taking process. I know it sounds like the stupidest idea ever, but when I read the book Build a Second Brain, that did it for me because I've been doing that very, very haphazardly, but I had a system, and that book just took it to the next level. Sorry for being so nerdy.
I totally understand where you're coming from. Like, for example, when in the morning when I read my books, like for example, investing book, I will also like extract out paragraph that speak to me. And then but I think I should do that one step further, like what you say, combine everything into a document so that I can assess those information much faster. But my question is, like the book can be so long, like some of the books can be like so thick. Like, how are you able to condense your summary? Like, is there any certain way that you can condense your summary better so that it becomes a easier way to assess your memory, assess all those knowledge?
Sure. Is it a bad idea for me to share my screen? I can do a slide.
Sure. You click present below, and then you click share screen, and then I will bring your share screen up.
Okay, hopefully,
this is getting so interesting.
Hopefully, it doesn't lag. So I'll just do my best to try. Okay, so just give me a while.
Wow, I never expect the conversation to go towards here, but I love that. It's like really hands-on. How many of you love it? If you love it, type me in the chat. Okay, we can see your screen right now.
Okay, so you can see, right, basically I anchored this. So you can see this document is, I don't know how many pages. This is my investing, about 140 pages, but it spans more than that. So it's going to break to multiple documents. So you can see, like, let's say, the left side is all the books I've read on investing, from 100 Baggers, Outsiders, which I think all these are books that you know, all the way to maybe like Psychology of Money, Nothing But Net, Terry Smith's Letters, Ben Graham, Buffett. And then, see, like I say, example, Ben Graham and Buffett has so much wisdom, right? So I took this into a separate one. So Intelligent Investor is a whole new animal. So from this, I will open up. Okay, so to answer your question, how do I remember things I've read, right? So everything you see here, so this is security analysis, this is Intelligent Investor. So it allows me to like find it very fast. Security analysis basically everything you see here, ignore the highlights first, ignore the boldings, are things that stood out for me from the book that I'm extracting out from the book. Okay, so that's called the first layer of summary. Then the
Oh,
second layer of summary is
are
after.
you sharing screen? Are you sharing screen? I'm not seeing security analysis though.
Oh, okay, okay, wait. I think I need to, because I
I,
changed the tab. Sorry,
yeah.
I need to reshare again.
Okay,
Wait a
let me.
second.
Okay, sure.
Okay, pardon me. Okay, so let me just share.
Yeah, our audience are loving it. Adrian,
Right.
Benson,
So
they're
you
all
can see
learning.
security analysis
Fantastic.
here right now. Can you see?
Yes, we can see now.
Okay, so that's it. Everything you see here is security analysis. Ignore the boldings and highlights and the yellow, green highlights. Everything is just taken from the book security analysis. But that's just the things I extract. Which, like you asking, well, what if it's too much? How do I condense further? So after I read a book, I normally like to take like 2 or 3 days away from the book first. Because normally after you read a book, you take a few days away, your mind becomes fresh again to read it in a new light. And so now I do a summary of my summary. So the second layer is I read through all my extractions and I bold the things that stand out to me. So I give an example. Let's say in this case, to keep it simple, I'm bolding like companies with stable earnings is it a forecast and hence preferable. This is for me to remember that actually for forecasting and projecting like DCF or whatever, it's important to find companies that are more stable. Just an example. So then I bold this, bold this, bold this, and then after the bolding is done, I then go back and reread. And then what happens? I then find the things that's even more important to me and I put it in green. So that is like the most top essence. So which means that whenever I want to refresh a book, the first thing I do is not read the whole thing because it could be a lot of extracts as well as you can see here. I just read the ones in green. So I can just boom, immediately go down and say, I look here. The more volatile a firm's earnings are, the more cautious one should be in estimating future cash flows. And the more one back into the past one should look. Okay, so this tell me know that, okay, if I want to do any DCFs in future, Graham and Dodd suggest 10 years. So this is like just a concept. Then I just need to find the green highlights. And then if the green highlights stood out to me and I realized, okay, I want to dig deeper into this, maybe because I need to teach this, I need to apply this, I just want to dig deeper. Then I go read the boldings. And then if I read the boldings and I'm still into it, I still cannot get my answer, then I read the whole thing. So there's multiple layers of filter when I do this. And believe it or not, I know it's totally crazy right now. I'm very nerdy about this, but this is really the secret to being good at learning things and applying things, right? Because if you don't have this, we all read books and we go, oh yeah, I'm super inspired. But you have nothing to grasp on because you don't have what we call a second brain to hold the information because your first brain is limited. There's no way you're going to be apply what you're able to read, or whether you learn from a DCF or you read like some Michael Mabustin book and then like, oh yeah, awesome, but reverse DCF, I don't know, but I can't recall when I need it. So that's the ability to learn things. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So it's a very vigorous process of learning.
Yeah. It is. So yeah, I take it quite seriously as you can tell. Yeah.
That's good. Okay, I should totally start practicing that as well. And in the meantime, I think that our audience, like, they're loving it, and I'm going to practice that as well. Fantastic. Now, if we move on to the next question, we talk about like the ability to communicate your ideas across just now, right? So are these also something that you build up along the way through like readings, through like how do you communicate effectively? Like if you can condense to one key principle that people can immediately start applying to improve their communication, what would that be?
Okay. The secret is come from my speaking course. No, I'm just joking. Wow. Okay. To be honest, I don't have the perfect answer in terms of if I were to narrow down to that one or two things. But if you ask me in terms of being able to communicate the ideas across, there's actually two main things that I found very helpful over the years. First things first is same thing. It's going to sound very. It's actually not the words you say. It's to learn how to use your diaphragm. Okay, I just got to be real. Really, right? Because I give an example. Like when you're able to speak from a diaphragm, your words just come across a lot stronger. So maybe I just give an example, right? Let's say today I want to ask someone to buy something. You just keep a simple example. So okay, now that I've covered everything I've covered in this document and this contract, let me help you process your documents, okay? As compared to, okay, now that I've covered everything I've covered in the contract, Chloe, let me just process the documents for you, all right? So you see, like the first one triggers more of we call it up talk like in communication. So you sound a bit uncertain. Number two, your status is a bit lower versus the prospect or whoever you're talking to ask for that request. The second one feels a bit more like a command. So first one is I really, to use a diaphragm, you can go YouTube. Most people can learn it in just a day or two. But I was from speech and drama. When I was a kid, I sucked at acting, so they made me do music. We call it AV, right, which is audio visual. But the only thing I learned from there was to use the diaphragm, which somehow helped me as a speaker. So when you're able to use the diaphragm a lot, right? I don't, you just imagine this. Today I make a statement like the boy was under the tree versus like the boy was under the tree. I can sound a lot more authoritative just by using the diaphragm, which makes the words go in better. Once again, it's the delivery mechanism that matters. So we're going a bit into communication linguistics here. Number two, believe it or not, it's actually tonality, right? So I give a simple example from investing audience. Pretend today, since you're asking about communication, a lot of people think that communication or sales or like just talking to people in general is a very open-ended skill and art, which means that I have to listen to what the person says, and then afterwards, what the person say, that I reply, because conversation is fluid. And I agree to some extent. But what a lot of people don't know is that actually through your tonality, I can subconsciously influence the answers that I want from the other person in a sales context. Obviously, I don't do this in a normal setting because it's very hard and it's too manipulative. But let's say in a sales context where I need the person to do certain actions to help them realize certain aha moments. I give an example. Let's pretend today. Pretend today I'm you. I'm maybe pitching my or promoting my options program, and I really believe the options program can change someone's life, but the person cannot see it. So asking a simple question like are you happy with your investing returns right now? So just this sentence alone, I'll do two demonstrations. First demonstration is, so are you happy with your investing returns right now? So it makes the person focus on whether they are happy or not happy. All right. Now I do a second example. So are you happy with your investing returns right now? Now the person starts thinking, instead of the happy or not happy, it's more like, what's my return actually? Right? So same
Yeah,
sentence. I can influence the answers I want out of the person, which then influences the trajectory of the communication, right? So yeah, I'm going too much into communication here. I know this is an
that is so
investing channel.
interesting.
Yeah,
Wow,
but
that
basically
is so
it's
interesting.
tonality, and number two is the delivery, which is to use your diaphragm, right? So
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, thanks so much for the tips. And I think like, oh wow. Yeah, I think I've been unconsciously practicing it, but I think what you said just now make me become more aware. And I
Yep.
think it all comes boils down to awareness, right? Be it like communication, be it like uh investing as well. When we are more aware, we are able to improve better as well. So my next question is like, just now you did talk about like connecting different dots, right? And I clearly remember that you told me that recently you were reading a book about how to increase luck, and
Oh,
how that by doing so many like different dots, right, connecting different dots actually help to increase luck. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how we can become luckier?
okay, got it. So this is a very, I think to the audience, it will sound like a very generic question. What the heck is luck? Okay, so I had a very big aha moment. I think I need to give the back context first in just like 10 seconds for the audience. So I read two books last year, or sorry, 2 years back, that really changed my perspective on luck versus skill, which is the title of today's podcast. First book is called Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Taleb. Nassim Nicholas Taleb. I think that guy needs no introduction. Most people in the investing world or the self-help world, you would have known him. Second book is very, very underrated, but this book really changed my life. It's called Why Greatness Cannot Be Planned. It's by this author called Kenneth Stanley. The recurring themes around these books are basically that most things that happen in our lives are due to luck and randomness for most things. But so I'm not saying skill is not important. I'm not saying that you just stay home and like do nothing. What I'm saying is that a lot of human beings, we, because of our hindsight bias, right? The typical kind of, I think it was Daniel Kahneman or something like this. Like there's a lot of narrative bias, hindsight bias. Our brains tend to fool us. We think that everything we achieve, whether it's financial wealth, financial status, achievements in life, whatever, is down to our own doing. Yeah, that's the book. I preach to everyone about it, such that I think my friends are so annoyed. But anyway, so I realized after reading these books that most things in our lives as human beings, if you really be honest with yourself and you trace it back, it's down to you at some chance encounter, meeting this mentor, meeting this, in Chinese we call it a 贵人 or some benefactor that open up your network or your doors to give you that platform to then go try that, and that thing somehow worked out. Right, but if you were to rewind time and do like a Doctor Strange kind of multiverse thing, and you play 10,000 parallel universes with the same you, going to the same place, waiting for that same person to show up, give you the opportunity, that person may not be there because in their reality, they may have done it a different way in that alternate universe. I'm just giving an example here. So essentially, I realized that most things in life happen because of luck. And then the nerdy me being Max just asked myself, okay, most things based on luck. But I don't accept that, okay, everything based off luck, then I just don't do nothing. I sit at home, wait for the lottery ticket to fly into my window. Like, no, right? So I asked myself, how can I be a bit more strategic about luck? Which then brought me to another book. Okay, so you can see I'm a I'm a absolute geek, but I have this way of reading books and applying what I've read in books. And this book, I think I saw you post about it before, Chloe. It's one of my favorite books as well. It's by Naval Ravikant. And Naval actually talks about luck. I think he's one of the first guys that talks about luck very, very well. He mentions in his book, or was it in his podcast, there's actually three types of luck in this world. First type of luck is called blind luck. So blind luck means really you walk on the street and then somehow you see a lottery ticket and you win like $8 million from it. Okay, that's blind luck. It cannot be recreated, cannot be engineered. It's just blind. Second luck is called luck by hustle. So these are people who just go out there, attend so much networking events. They do so many different things, and the amount of dust it stirs up, they somehow get lucky because of luck through effort or hustle. Third luck, which is what he mentioned, is luck through reputation. So he gave two examples. Naval gave the example of today, if you're a deep sea diver and you're the only guy on planet Earth who can dive deep below the ocean, like let's say like I don't know how many thousand feet, you're the only guy, pretend. And today I'm like this person who owns a business, and I know this place has gold, but I cannot reach it. I will definitely find you and I'll split the profits for 50-50 with you. And to the outsider, they will say, hey, this diver got lucky. But no, his reputation and his skill as a deep sea diver and the only one in the world allowed him to get lucky. But it looks like luck or blind luck to the audience, but it's not. It's luck by reputation. And another example he gave was Buffett. So Buffett gets deals that the average person like me and you will never, ever, 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 ever get because of his reputation. So when I realized that, I'm like, okay, how can I make luck a bit more intentional? Which you realize that sentence itself is very ironic. How can I make luck more intentional? So even something like luck, I'm also trying to engineer it, right? So then I realized in the day and age we are in right now, there's two things I can do to make luck a lot more intentional. Number one, I need to be able to try many, many, many different things with my time. Of course, the caveat here I need to give is that I'm, of course, self-employed as well. So I have the free time and ability to try many different projects or bets. As a full-time 9 to 5, it may be a bit more limited. So you have to use your own creativity and resources to go and try and make it happen. Number two is actually I live in the day and age where I can use social media to multiply my luck, which I think Chloe has done very well, right? Basically, your exposure online just opens up a lot more doors and opportunities. And I'm not going to go into detail. We can talk about that in another podcast. But my current girlfriend came because of social media. I was attending a podcast. I talked about my love for Cai Fan. She DM'd me about asking how I count calories for Cai Fan because she's into working out as well. And that was how we hit it off. I thought she was cute. I asked her out. So yeah, without going too much into that, because that's
That
not
is so sweet.
it came from the podcast, and the podcast came because some guy saw me on social media on Twitter, and that's luck in itself. Okay, but let's go back to the first part. So the first part I was sharing was more like you need to be able to place multiple bets, but many people screw it up because they're like, okay, Max says, or this book says place multiple bets. Let me just place multiple bets. But you have to also have a criteria for the amount of bets or the types of bets that you take. So believe it or not, I actually have a criteria which I can share screen later if you want to as well. In terms of anytime I analyze a new project, what is the criteria to look for whether I want to take this bet or not? Because think about it for a second. I'm not. We are a bit like VCs, venture capitalists of our time, using our time. Like if I'm a normal venture capitalist, I have money. That money is like almost unlimited because I can keep raising funds from my LPs and my limited partners, and I can keep trying many different projects. I can invest in the next Airbnb, the next Stripe, whatever. But for us as normal people, there's only 24 hours. What? So with a VC of my time, I don't have unlimited funds in that case. So you need to be able to take on so for me, I set a goal, a simple motto for myself. Every quarter, I must always try 2 to 3 new bets using my time, energy, or emotions, basically put things at risk. And at all times, I must have at least 3 to 4 bets in circulation at all times. And this gives me multiple income streams. It gives me multiple peace of mind as well. And so every time before I take a bet, I just give off my head a few questions to ask myself. Number one, this bet that I'm taking in terms of this project or this venture, can I go to market in 2 to 3 weeks? This is an important one because if I cannot go to market in 2 to 3 weeks, let's pretend like most people, you have the idea that, I love this idea, I'm super passionate. Let me just make sure this idea, I want to make sure this idea takes off at all costs. Right, and then you spend 6 months taking off the idea, and you really, after that, you realize you got mature and okay, I don't think this can work. But you just lost 6 months. You want to ask yourself from a normal adult life of like maybe 30 years old to 60 years old. That's really the main prime years. How many 6 months do you have? 60, right? Using this
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
only take 60 bets. But if I go to market in 3 weeks, in each year, I can launch maybe like my math is about maybe 18, all right, or
Wow.
maybe
Yeah.
17 bets. So just being able to shoot more spaghettis at the wall, I'm already able to have luck on my side because I'll have a lot more failed bets, but my go-to-market time is a lot shorter. So that's just one criteria. Another criteria I ask myself is if let's say today I launch something and it doesn't take off, can I reuse it? So this allows me to still get lucky and not waste the effort. So true story. I think I'm going a bit overboard. I'll just end with this simple case study. Early this year,
Mm.
I thought of wanting to launch a sales course, right?
Yeah.
In sales for one, I thought most people want to learn how to sell one-on-one, but I didn't want to spend 3 weeks writing the course material only to not have people buy because for all I know, I mean, oh Max, you think you're good, but maybe nobody wants to buy. Right? It's all in my head, right? So you can see how selfish I am in my time. I don't even want to commit 3 weeks to spend my time, even though it's free because it's just 3 weeks. There's no money involved. It's just 3 weeks to make the course. I didn't want to do that. So guess what I did? I went to find a friend over lunch who just nice. This guy was he runs his own small fund. He's a small fund manager. He's a very good investor. Just no idea how to sell, which for some reason most investors suck at selling. Not all, but most. And then he just couldn't raise enough funds from friends and family to make his dream of being a fund manager like take off. And I just I said, hey, let's call him Tommy. Hey Tommy, are you open to me teaching you how to raise funds one-on-one using conversation or consultative selling, so on and so forth? I teach you
Wow.
one-on-one just over one full day together. And then you pay me a certain fee for me to teach it to you and these secrets. And of course, he was a friend, so he knew I was good at selling. So
Yeah.
we had some discussions, handled some objections here and there. And eventually he said, okay, Max, I'll pay you $2,000. So just like this $2,000, I coached him for one full day. And 2K for one day is not too bad. But here's
Yeah.
how I was about it. I was thinking 2K for one full day. Because these things I do it day in, day out. So I need to spend one day to create the course and
Yeah.
one day to deliver it to him.
Yeah.
So 2 days to make 2K, which is 1K a day, still not too bad. Not the most exciting, but not too bad. But I asked myself, from this alone, I got the content out and he
Yeah.
helped me to de-risk the bet. So I got paid to make the content. And now that the content is out, I'm using that to launch my sales course because the
Yeah.
content is there already.
Yeah.
So I'm always thinking about bet sizing with my time, criteria before I place any bet. Can I reuse this if this fails, if this doesn't take off? Things like that. So hopefully that answers the question. Yeah.
I think like the thinking process of criteria is so important. And
Yep.
if we lead on to that, right? What is your criteria when it comes to investing in a company?
Okay. So now we are onto the investing actual thing, right? Yeah. So believe it or not, I actually have like two types of portfolios. Let me just give the background. Because I realized, to be fair, I'm still a young investor. I wouldn't claim to say that I've invested for like 10, 15 years because what the heck, I'm only 33 this year, or 32, still 32, turning 33 soon. So the fact is, I've only been investing for like maybe like 5 years or so. And I do acknowledge I could have got lucky and maybe it's really luck, right? And so I asked myself, in order to not kind of be so fragile, I want to have different types of portfolios. So I have one portfolio, which is a Buffett style portfolio, which you can dig deeper later. Another portfolio is a bit more of a venture capitalist slash portfolio, but I don't invest in private companies. It's still all the public market. So let me share how it goes. So for my Buffett style portfolio, I pick the types of stocks which is really very Buffett-like. So high focus on return on invested capital, right? A very, very big focus on companies that do not change. Okay, companies that brands will still be around and all that kind of stuff like that. And then extreme I'm going to swear a bit, but anal emphasis on valuation, right? So
Yes.
using like DCF, whatever. So that's the Buffett style. So of companies, and then the other type are more like basically companies that are your loss-making SaaS companies, e-commerce companies of the world, basically just investing money back to the business. So for this venture, I call it the venture capitalist bucket because I take smaller bets. And because these companies could be your like crash 80%, your upstarts, snowflakes, sea limiteds of the world, and then the other one is more like basically your. To be fair, I don't invest in stuff like McDonald's or Coca-Cola. Just to be clear, I don't do that because that's really still too clear to me. But without going too much into what my portfolio is, it's basically things like strong consumer brands, right? Things that will like 10, 20 years from now, I could still see them being around and using Buffett's emphasis of I only want to invest in companies where the 10-year track record of operating earnings in the last 10 years has proven itself, and I don't bother anything about future projections. So that's the Buffett style, right? So I split my portfolio regarding these two because to be fair, I still don't know whether I'm proven of an investor. So I use both. So that's the criteria I look for both buckets, right? So yeah, I give a very big overview because if you want to go into the nitty gritty, we can go in even deeper into like each criteria in each bucket, but that's going to take a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but I think you definitely have already shared some insights into how you invest, and our audience can use it as a reference as well. But at the end of the day, I think like your VC style come from your motto right now of like placing different bets in life,
Yeah,
and that's
it does.
how you also place different bets in VC style kind of company, right? So
It does.
if you can summarize in terms of like your life motto, what would that be?
Yeah, so I saw this question in your in your questionnaire, but to be fair, I didn't know how to answer. Because by the way, so everything here is unplanned. I'm just going off my script, as you can tell. Like, I didn't expect to share a screen or whatever. Okay, so to answer this question, I'll answer in two ways. I think, like, say, do you want the real answer or do you want the nice to hear answer? I don't know which one you want. Yeah.
Your candid answer.
Okay, so the candid answer is my life motto. Generally, I wouldn't say right now. Since I kind of discovered my passion for teaching, and I think you guys can tell through this camera also, or maybe from the audience. I really like to explain things to others. I just get a very big sense of fulfillment. It's three words. I think it's very morbid. I don't really say this often, but I wanna die a teacher. It sounds stupid. I want to die a teacher. I think for me, I did think to myself before, like it's extremely bloody meaningless if like my gravestone, let's pretend I die next week, for example, my gravestone or whatever, like it shows, hey, here died a guy with X million in the bank. Like nobody really cares, man. Like nobody's gonna shock your funeral because of that. But I think for me, I do envision, and it's still of course a bit of pride and ego. I want people to shock my funeral with the 10, hey, this guy taught me years back how to be a better person, or this guy taught me years back how to invest better. This guy taught me years back how to speak better. I know it sounds so silly, but these little skill sets then translate to improve their lives and improve their family's life, whatever, through the finances that they make. So I really love breaking complex ideas down for people. I just love the kick when I see somebody's eyes light up with that aha moment or light bulb. So I want to die a teacher. That's been my life motto. I do see myself still constantly teaching, training. In what topic, I don't know, right? Years back, it was e-commerce and marketing. Last year was investing. Recently, it's sales and persuasion presentations. Maybe 10 years from now, you'll be gardening and sewing. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, I just like to teach. And I think I do have a gift for teaching. And I tell myself, I don't want to waste that gift from God or whatever higher power you ask. Okay, for the life motto now, it's actually, I think, already very clear across this podcast. For me, it's all about taking bets. So every quarter, which I was telling Chloe in private when we met like few months back over like drinks, right? I said every quarter I will set 2 to 3 new bets I want to place with my time. So like it can be try this new project, try this new venture, but I just want to keep placing bets. And so my motto is that I think most things in life are based off luck, and I want to increase my luck exposure and engineer it a lot more intentionally, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think a life motto does change along the way, and I think regardless how it changed, it always continue as long as we're willing to learn, willing to reflect, it help us to become better. And if you can turn back time, right? Let's say 10 years ago, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Okay. This one is quite obvious for me. I think let's talk about two things. Number one is from a money aspect. Number two is from a non-money aspect. So from money aspect is plain and simple. Learn how to analyze businesses. Plain and simple. Because of the fact that, like I mentioned years back, Chloe, you do know people who know me. So the people that know me will know the young Max was more of a trader, very I like action basically, right? So when I really understood that actually the real wealth only comes through ownership in equity. And ownership in equity can come about from either you are a business owner yourself, so you start your own small business enterprise, and that's equity. Or if you realize, like me, you're not the kind that wants to be a founder of a business, start the next, the next Tesla or whatever. You're not like that kind of empire builder. Then the next best way is to own equity in public businesses. That's the only way that you can get out of the cycle. By cycle, I mean the rat race or whatever things you want to throw and give it that label. So learning how to analyze businesses was very freeing for me because I did build up a certain level of capital base from my 9 to 5 job as a trainer. But like the only way to still get out of that financial liability kind of thing and be financially free across that first million by 29 is really through investing in equities that are strong and solid. So that's from a financial point of view. From a non-financial point of view, the advice would be don't be afraid to go on social media and talk about your achievements, talk about yourself, and talk about basically your beliefs and values a lot more. It's very hard to tell because most people will think, oh, Max, you're a trainer, it comes easy for you. Actually, I can tell you guys, no, man. Like, I only started posting more about myself on social media about 1.5 years back, which is when I left my full-time job. The people that know me will know, even as a trainer and speaker back then, I could be very loud on stage. In person, I'm extremely shy. I don't like talking to people. On social media, I was very quiet. I will maybe once in a while post a few photos of me speaking, but that's all. But it's only after I left that I realized, crap, I need to generate luck and I need an audience, right? So the only way for you to make money with eyeballs is either you pay for traffic, which is not practical for a new solopreneur, or you get free audience from the platforms, whether it's your Twitter, your LinkedIn, or your Facebook or IG, whatever. So don't be afraid to post about yourself and don't be afraid to kind of talk about yourself. It may feel, till today, I still feel very like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm talking about myself. But I think that thing has really opened up a lot more doors, a lot more luck, a lot more opportunities for me that it has brought me downsides don't have. Like, it's a lot more upside. Yeah. And so pretty much that's it. I think to kind of end off, I think it's more on this question is like, I was very inspired when I heard this quote by Alex Hormozy, which I think we all know. Right now, he's going viral on the internet due to his launch. And he has this video, he has so many videos. I forgot which video he said that. Basically, a lot of us, we fear about the way people judge us because we think that if we post things online, we do certain things, people will just roll their eyes or maybe judge us. Then he made this statement, he said, no, none of these people are going to come to your funeral. And for some reason, that thing really hit me because for me, every time before I post things, I also have this thought of this person that I know. What if they roll their eyes and everything? They may judge me, my secondary school friend, this friend, that friend. And then there was just one day after I heard that quote, I realized that I really had this image in my mind. I pretend today I post something about myself. Oh, I post my investing results. I post my whatever results, my top of my achievements. I had this image where this person looks at it and then probably just rolls their eyes. And then I also played the fact that what if in the next 5 minutes, I suddenly die of a heart attack and then for some reason, magically, it's announced on Facebook, Max just did. All these people who are judging me, they'll probably stop. And they'll probably still stop. They'll be like, oh, Max just died. They'll probably still pause there for like 5 seconds and be like, okay. And then they'll just scroll. And then they go back to their kids and their lives. And when I thought through that, I realized, none of these people are going to show up to my funeral, man. So why worry about these judgments? And so that gave me a bit more thick skin to kind of post things more and talk about yourself. And that has opened up a lot more luck and widened the luck surface area. Yep. That's my answer.
Wow. And if people want to follow you and learn more about you, since right now you are more consistent in like your social media posting, where can they find you?
Okay, you can just follow me on Instagram. It's Hey Max Co. Hey, hey, MAXKOH, my name. That's all pretty much. That's
Okay,
where I am.
let me share screen. All right, so this is Max. I think right after this, you should have 1,000 followers.
Okay, yay! One more. Okay, yeah, cool. I really post about everything under the sun. So please don't expect some guru wisdom investing advice or whatever. Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much.
And it was like, okay, look, thinking about this picture, it just remind me of how coincident that we didn't meet in Singapore. We met in Berkshire Hathaway AGM.
Yeah, that's where we met. Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett brought us together. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was really amazing. And Max, I just want to confirm the book that you mentioned just now about okay, hold on, let me just unshare this and then hold on, the book that you just mentioned, I just want to confirm it's the book that I'm sharing screen right now. Are you talking about this book, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, right?
Naval Ravikant. So I threw up a lot of books today. I try and remember what I threw up. So Scott Adams, which is the cartoonist that taught me how to stack talents. That is how I failed at everything and still succeeded. I know it's a very long title. That book. I talked about Build Your Second Brain. I talked about this book, right? Naval Ravikant's Almanac. I talked about Fooled by Randomness and why greatness cannot be planned. So yeah, yeah, these five
Thank
books.
you so much for sharing so much of your favorite books. It doesn't have to be investing related. And in fact, as the more I read about like great investors, they actually read very, very diverse, like multidisciplinary kind of books. So I hope that for investors over here, you guys can also, expand your reading list. And then from there, start taking notes. Okay. Can everybody type N in the chat? Okay, N stands for notes. I think this is something that I also want to start cultivating for myself. Because for myself, I always put a lot on my social media, right? And I thought that social media is a place for me to condense my thoughts. So right now, I need to compile all my condensation of all those thoughts into a Google Doc. I think that is very, very useful. Thank you so much. And I think how our audience, so I also want to ask, what's your greatest key takeaway from Max sharing tonight? Put it in the chat. I think Max would love to know. And I think it has been very, very useful and insightful as well. So Max, if you have any last advice that you give to our audience, what would that be?
Wow. To be fair, none lah. I think I've said what I need to say already. So I sorry to be a spoiler. I cannot think of anything on the spot right now in terms of advice. I mean, if you ask like specific investing or life advice, maybe that's a different story. But none. I think just learn how to. I think the three types of luck is very fundamental to understand. So learn how to be a bit more exposed to luck in your own life, either through hustle or either through reputation and skill. So yeah, that's my parting advice. Yeah.
So hustle, reputation, and skill. So
Yeah.
double down on the high income skill. And then after that, hustle, that means you need to put yourself up, right? Like talk about social media, talk about networking, right? And then last but not least, reputation, like build out your reputation so that eventually you will increase your luck as well. Thank you
Yep.
so much, Max. And for those who are wondering how to learn about like skill in terms of like how to become better in investing, for us, we do have our free 2-day Buffett Online School 2-day class. All right, you can actually register via the link below. Actually, every single month we do run a 2-day investing course, but the next one will be in September. All right, so for those who have not joined us, make sure to join us because I will be personally be teaching there. So if you want to learn how Buffett way of investing, that is the place for you to go, and some more is free. Right. So for those who also want to join me in terms of my Telegram, all right, you can also check it out from here. Where's my link? Okay, I prepare Max link. I never prepare my link. Okay, basically it's just there you go. Okay, so you can go to Alligator Investor and then you can follow me. I'll post a lot of insights over there. And also remember to follow Max. Okay, he actually posts different kind of insights, not just about investing, about sometimes about way of life, about speaking, about sales, conversion, and everything. I follow Max very closely and I always enjoy reading all your insights that you post on your social media. So looking forward to your next post. Thank you so much,
Thank you very much,
everybody.
Chloe. Thank you,
Thank
guys. Appreciate it.
you. All right. I will see you guys next round. Bye. Thank you, everyone.